So, I decided to do my presentation on the impact of screen time on early childhood's mental health. I'm an OSR teacher, a OSR pre-K first class teacher. I have been teaching in an OSR classroom for the past 11 years. I chose this because I've seen the impact firsthand from students and even my own son. In today's digital age, screen time has become an increasingly common part of early childhood experiences. From tablets and smartphones to educational television programs, young children are exposed to screens at earlier age for long periods than ever before. While technology can offer valuable learning opportunities, growing research raises concerns about its impact of early childhood development and educational outcomes. This presentation explores the effects of screen time on young learners, particularly in areas such as language development, attention span, social emotional growth, and school readiness. It also examines the differences between passive and interactive screen use, as well as the role of adult guidance in maximizing educational benefits. By analyzing current research and recommendations, this study aims to provide a balanced understanding of how screen time influences early childhood education and to identify best practices for educators and families. The educational concerns around screen time in early childhood, ages 0 through 8, aren't just about too much tech. They're about how it affects key areas of development that are foundational for learning later in school. Here are the main problems educators and researchers point to: delays in language and communication, reduced attention span and focus, impact on social and emotional development, interference with play-based learning, sleep disruption, academic readiness gaps. For this part of the literature review, I want to talk about the screen time and delays in language development in young children. According to Dimitri A. Krylicis, a colleague's excessive screen exposure at an early age is associated with slower language growth development. This is largely because young children learn language best through direct face-to-face interaction. The American Academy of Pediatrics emphasizes and responses the responsive communication with caregivers. It's critical for building vocabulary and communication skills. Other things I saw that passive screen use, like watching videos, does not provide the same level of verbal agreement or feedback that real life interaction does. As a result, children may miss important opportunities to practice language. Overall, finding the stress of importance of social interaction in early language is the best. For this part of the literature review, research showed me that screen time can have a significant impact on young children's social and emotional development. Research by Kathy Hirsch-Pask and colleagues suggests that increased screen time can reduce these critical opportunities for interaction. When screen use replaces time spent engaging with others, children may struggle to develop skills like empathy, cooperation, and understanding emotions. Studies also showed me that the higher levels of screen exposure are linked to difficulties with emotional regulation, meaning children may have a hard time managing their feelings and behaviors. The work that I saw by Jean M. Twigg also connects excessive screen use with increased risk of anxiety and behavior challenges. It's important to recognize that not all screen time has negative effects, but when media is interactive and used with adult guidance, it can support social learning and positive behaviors, like watching real life situations when you're teaching and showing the students exactly what to do. Overall, the research highlights the real life interaction remains essential for developing strong social and emotional skills in early childhood, and screen time should be balanced and used in an intentional way if you're teaching it. The next part I want to talk about is excessive screen time interference with play-based learning in early childhood. Excessive screen time can reduce the spent time in playing and learning in activity centers. In my center, we use this as well as we do center time for our play for an hour and 10 minutes every single day. I have noticed that the screen time can replace the imaginative and interactive play where students aren't using their imagination, that they're not using their healthy development. Instead, they're actively exploring and creating when they're in those centers and learning and engage with one another. Screen-based activities also limit those operations for exploration, social interaction, and problem solving. Reduced time spent in play has also linked to weaker executive functioning skills, including self-regulation and the ability to manage tasks and behaviors. It's important to note that not all is negative again. Guided interactive media may support learning but should not replace the play. According to Monique L. Burrows and colleagues, excessive screen use is associated with shorter sleep duration and poorer sleep quality. This is especially concerning in early childhood when sleep plays a critical role in brain development and learning. One major factor that I noticed the timing of screen use. Using screens before bed can delay when children fall asleep. Research by Charles A. Kressler explains that the blue light emitted from screens can interfere with melatonin productions, which is the hormone that helps regulate sleep. In addition, screen time, especially in the evening, can be overstimulating for the brain, making it hard for children to relax and fall asleep. This can lead to irregular sleep patterns and less consistent sleep routines. The American Academy of Pediatrics also highlighted that poor sleep is linked to challenges with attention, behavior, and overall learning readiness in young children. However, research shows that limiting screen time before bed can improve in sleep and outcomes and support healthier routines. Overall, the findings that I found that emphasizes the healthy sleep habits are essential for early development and excessively or poorly timed screen can interrupt these patterns. For the final part of my presentation, I want to bring together the overall impact of screen time on early childhood development, as well as my personal perspective on the topic. Research shows that screen time affects multiple areas of development in young children. These include delay in language and communication, reduced attention span and focus, and challenges in social and emotional development. It can also interfere with play-based learning, disrupt sleep patterns, and contribute to gaps in academic readiness. A common theme across the research that I found was excessive and passive screen use can replace the important real-world learning experience, such as interacting with others, engaging in play, and practicing our communication skills. However, it's important to recognize that not all screen time is harmful. When used appropriately, interactive and educational content can support learning, especially when adults are involved through the guidance and the co-viewing. From my perspective, screen Screen time should be used in moderation with clear intention. It should be a tool that supports learning rather than something that replaces hands-on experiences and social intervention. I believe that maintaining a balance between technology and real-world activities is essential to support healthy development and ensure that young children are fully prepared for school and beyond. This year, just in 2026, our Governor Kay Ivey in Alabama signed a new law that focused on limiting screen time in early childhood education settings. This includes places like daycare, child care centers, pre-K programs, and kindergarten classrooms. One of the key parts of this law is that prohibits screen time for children under the age of 2 in the child care setting. For children between the ages of 2 and 5, the law sets clear limits and guidelines on how screens should be used. It requires teachers and child care providers to receive training on appropriate and effective screen use, ensure that technology is used in a way that supports learning rather than replacing it. The purpose of this law is to protect early childhood development, reduce the negative impacts and excessive screen times that can have on learning and behavior, and promote play-based and interactive learning experience. The law is set to go into effect on January 1st of 2027. This policy reflects what much of the research has shown through this presentation, that screen time should not be eliminated, but it should be limited, intentional and balanced with real-world learning experience. I myself am very excited about this law because I will be able to implement it even more in my classroom. In conclusion, Screen time is a major part of early childhood today, but research shows that it must be used carefully and intentionally. While technology can offer opportunities, excessive or unstructured screen times can impact the language development, attention span, and social emotional growth, play-based learning, sleep, and overall academic readiness. What stands out the most is that early childhood development depends heavily on real-world interactions, talking, playing, exploring, and building relationships. These experiences cannot be fully replaced by screens. As both research and recent policies change suggest, the goal is to not eliminate technology, but to create balanced screen time. It should be supported by educators for learning, not replace the foundation and experience children need to grow and succeed. When we prioritize meaningful interaction, guided learning, and healthy limits on screen times, we give young children the strongest possible foundation for future success. Thank you for listening to my presentation.